For millions of years, strange armored creatures have crawled across the darkest parts of the ocean floor, hidden so deep that humans had no idea they even existed. When the first giant isopods were finally brought to the surface, many people thought they looked like something from another planet. Others couldn't believe they were real at all. But in the crushing depths of the ocean lives a creature that looks like a giant alien insect. Yet it's actually a distant relative of the tiny pill bug you can find beneath rocks in your own backyard. It has glowing-looking eyes, 14 legs, and a metabolism so slow that one individual survived 5 entire years without eating a single meal. Yet despite decades of research, scientists still struggle to explain many of its bizarre adaptations, from the way it reproduces to how it survives for years without food. The giant isopod is so ancient that its story stretches back 160 million years. That's older than the mighty Tyrannosaurus Rex. But even today, scientists can't explain a lot about it. For example, how does such a bizarre creature connect to something as ordinary as a backyard pill bug? It almost seems impossible, yet the giant isopod is a distant relative of the humble woodlouse. But here's where the comparison gets astonishing. While the common pill bug stops at just 1 inch long, the giant isopod can reach a staggering 16 inches. It has 14 legs and a tough armored shell, making it look more like a creature from a sci-fi movie than something living in the ocean. What adds to its bizarre look are its gigantic eyes, which seem to glow in the dark. But in reality, they don't glow on their own. These triangular compound eyes are made up of over 4,000 tiny facets. When light hits them, the eyes appear to shine, almost like underwater headlights. This strange effect comes from a special layer in the back of their eyes called the tapetum lucidum. It works like a mirror, reflecting faint light back through the retina to help them see in the pitch-black depths of the ocean. Imagine how useful this must be in the dark world they call home. Yet despite this clever adaptation, their vision isn't as good as you'd expect. Even with their massive eyes, the giant isopods are practically blind. The deep ocean is so dark that there's hardly any light for their eyes to catch. To survive, they rely on their long, sensitive antennae to feel their way around. These help them detect movement and find food on the ocean floor. They don't actively look for food, though. With food being so scarce in those dark, crushing depths, they've adapted in ways that seem almost unreal. Their metabolism slows to an almost standstill, allowing them to conserve energy. Sometimes they sit nearly motionless for days, waiting for something edible to fall onto the seabed. You'll be shocked to know that in Japan, one giant isopod didn't eat for 5 whole years. It finally died in 2014, leaving scientists in shock. When they finally find food, it's like a huge celebration. Think of a giant dead whale sinking to the bottom of the ocean. It's a massive feast in an otherwise empty place. Giant isopods don't waste the chance. They eat as much as they can, stuffing themselves until their stomachs are completely packed. Their stomachs can fill 2/3 of their bodies. Sometimes they eat so much that they can barely move. According to deep-sea researcher Alton, when they're hungry and they're eating, definitely have a lot of food around them because they'll keep eating. Their 4 sets of jaws rip and tear at the prey, devouring whatever they can. There's even a comic about a giant isopod eating an entire whale, leaving only the bones before falling on its back. Feeding them in captivity is its own struggle. Alton, who worked with giant isopods at the Aquarium of the Pacific, explained how much effort it requires. The trick is what to feed them and how to feed them, she said. Mackerel, butterfly cut, and exposed seem to be their favorite. Still, patience is key. Alton offered food almost daily, never knowing when they'd be active or starving. It's fascinating and rewarding, she said, describing how you might spend weeks trying to figure out their feeding habits. Just like their feeding habits, the reproduction of giant isopods is full of surprises. These deep-sea creatures produce some of the largest eggs known in the marine world, each about a half an inch across. Unlike many other marine animals, female giant isopods carry only a small number of eggs, usually between 20 and 30 at a time. That's because every single egg is a precious investment in the survival of the species. Hidden beneath their armored bodies, females create a special pouch called the marsupium. This brood pouch acts as a shelter and a fortress for the eggs. And when the eggs hatch, they don't emerge as fragile larvae like most marine invertebrates. Instead, they come out fully formed, as tiny replicas of adults, measuring about 1 to 2.5 inches in length. This unique strategy helps them avoid many dangers of the open ocean, but how they develop inside the pouch is still a mystery. Because giant isopods are crustaceans, they have a tough, rigid exoskeleton that protects their soft bodies. But the problem is that it doesn't grow with them. To get bigger, they have to shed this protective shell in a process called molting. The molting process isn't done all at once. Instead, it happens in 2 stages. First, the isopod sheds the back half of its shell, then the front half follows. This strange 2-part process, called a biphasic molt, is essential for their survival. After shedding, the new exoskeleton starts out soft. During this time, the creature is at its most vulnerable. They must rapidly expand their bodies before the new shell hardens, and this all takes a huge amount of energy. For scientists, this molting process raises so many questions, such as, how do these creatures manage to avoid predators during such a dangerous phase? Grown-up giant isopods have a secret weapon to stay safe. When they sense a threat, these deep-sea giants don't fight or flee. Instead, they curl themselves into a nearly perfect tight ball. Scientists call this move conglobation. Here's how it works. To protect themselves, these creatures pull their head, legs, and even their antenna inward, tucking everything safely out of reach. Their armor, made of overlapping plates called tergites, locks together like a powerful shield. This clever move hides their soft underbelly, which is the most delicate part of their body. Once they've curled up, all that's left visible is their tough, rock-hard outer shell. This makes it extremely hard for predators like octopuses, crabs, or fish to harm them. So which of these giant isopod facts surprised you the most? Also, do you have other creatures you believe scientists can't explain properly? Feel free to share in the comments. Now leave a like if you've enjoyed the video, and make sure to subscribe to help support our channel. Goodbye for now.